welcome to the webinar on empowering energy transitions, energy cooperatives and energy communities, hosted by the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency. My name is Trupti Yargattimath and I'll be providing the technical support for today's session. Before we begin, I just have a couple of reminders. Firstly, the webinar is being recorded and will be made available on our website's knowledge management system in a few days. Second, we have a dedicated icons to where you can send your question and the panelists can give their answers towards the end. So please mention to which panelist you are asking the question. And now, without any further delay, I'd like to hand the floor over to Gabriela, who will be moderating today's session.
So good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this webinar on empowering the energy transition. Today we are going to talk about, as my colleague Trupti just mentioned, we are going to talk about energy cooperatives and energy communities. And we will hear from a very interesting group of speakers, not only from the European countries, but also from the Global South. So just a quick introduction to the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency. It is part of the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center, and it is an advisory institution that promotes the uptake of energy efficiency, especially in developing countries and the emerging economies. We have three main areas, key focus areas of work. The first one being assisting policy change in countries and cities around energy efficiency. So we actively work with national governments and subnational governments in the development and uptake of energy efficiency policies and regulations. Another area of our work is focusing on accelerating action through innovative delivery models. And actually this webinar today, it fits within also the scope of this particular focus area. And finally, we work towards raising awareness around energy efficiency practices, business models, policies, regulation, etc. So you can find a wealth of information in our website, and after introducing the speakers, I will leave a link that you can look into. There's a wealth of information up there, and so we can start our webinar. So just a kind of introduction to the topic. It's energy cooperatives and energy communities is kind of a new nascent business model that today energy cooperatives and energy communities cover already a wide range of activities, especially in renewable energies and energy efficiency. In several countries, of course, though Europe leads in this space as well. What are they? They are local and citizen-led initiatives that put in common investment means and democratic principles in order to implement the energy transition. And we will hear today more about this from our group of speakers. Decentralized renewables and small-scale energy efficiency can therefore be uptaken quickly. That's what we aim with the green transition. And the aim is to materialize within a solution that also covers energy security, decarbonisation, and benefit from citizen economic participation. So we will hear today from the speakers that are shown in the screen. We will start with Dirk Vansintjan. He's the president of REScoop, which is the European Federation of Citizen Energy Cooperatives in Europe, of course. After that, we will hear from Sara Capuzzo, a representative from Italy. She's the president of Énostra, and we will hear the developments happening in this space in Italy. Thirdly, we will hear from Denmark, where actually we are based, here the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency. And Erik Christiansen is going to explain how this business is being organized in Denmark and how successful it has been over the last years and months. Very much linked into the energy efficiency space, namely district energy. And then we will move into the global south, to the southern hemisphere, where we will hear from Eduardo Avila. He's the executive director at Revolusolar, which is a solar cooperative settled in Brazil. And last but not least, we will hear from Rita Antunes. She's the executive coordinator at Coopérnico, and I should say that this webinar wouldn't have been possible to be organized without the collaboration from Coopérnico. So the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency is very thankful for the collaboration of Coopérnico in the organization of this event. And yeah, we are happy that we managed to gather this group of speakers today. And without further ado, let's hear from them. And I invite Dirk Vansintjan to join us now. Please, Dirk, the floor is yours.
Welcome, everybody. As mentioned, my name is Dirk Vansintjan. I'm from Belgium, and since 2013, I'm the president of REScoop.eu, which is the European Federation of Citizen Energy Cooperatives. For me, personally, the whole journey started after my studies a long time ago, 1983. And I wanted to become an organic farmer, but we didn't find a farm. We found an old derelict water mill. That was a national monument, and it had a turbine, and it used to produce electricity for the whole village. And that led to a whole series of creation, the foundation of, let's say, lobby organizations for renewable energy in general, and for energy cooperatives in particular in Belgium, Flanders, Wallonia, and in Europe. So I put in this slide just to show you what happens. My cooperative, EcoPower, that started in the water mill in 1991. What happened during the last crisis, the energy crisis, or energy price crisis, we should call it, in Europe. So the green line is what my cooperative did. The prices we charge our members for the electricity we produce ourselves, and the one we buy on the market. So we shielded our members in a year time from 500, an increase of 500 euros of their bill. And so this is what shows that an energy cooperative that is also a supplier, not only a producer but also a supplier, what they can do. So they can regulate the price and stabilize the price for their members. So the federation was created 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. We federate cooperatives, but don't be mistaken. In some countries, there are other legal entities that are legally not cooperatives, but we also consider them as energy cooperatives when they follow more or less the cooperative principles. So we federate now about 2,250 energy cooperatives directly or indirectly through national or regional federations. We have a team of 14 people, if I'm not mistaken, in Brussels and in Antwerp, where we have our offices, and we represent these cooperatives at the European level. So what do these cooperatives do? And my colleagues and even I could call them dear friends that will introduce their initiatives later in this webinar will illustrate this. So most of our members are producers of renewable energy. And Erik, he will focus now on district heating, but he's also the chairman of Middelgrunden, a cooperative in Copenhagen that owns 50% of an offshore wind farm outside of the harbor of Copenhagen. Is an excellent example, but also, for instance, in the UK, West Mill Wind Cooperative is an example. Some of our members are suppliers as well, or only supply, like Cociter in Wallonia. It's a cooperative of citizen energy cooperatives that are producers, but together they made a supplier, a cooperative supplier of renewable energy. And REScoop in France is another example of one of our members that is mainly a supplier. And then what was a discovery for ourselves as well is that among our members or among the energy cooperatives, there are quite some DSOs, like distribution system operators, or they own the grid, let's say, the local grid. Some of them are very old, you have sort of federation in South Tyrol, which is the north of Italy. There are about 30 small suppliers. They also have the distribution. They own the grid, and they also own hydropower installations. And so together they created SEF, Südtirol Energieverbund. But their members, these 30 cooperatives, most of them are more than a century old. So they were created when the electrification of Europe started. Some of them are younger, like Elektricitätswerke Schönau, that was created after the nuclear disaster in Chernobyl. Some of our members focus on IT services like Energy ID. Some of our members, we noticed that across Europe there were cooperatives created that focus on electrical vehicle sharing, like Partago in Flanders, in Belgium, Somobilitat in Catalonia, in Spain. And we brought them together and we created together a European cooperative of cooperatives called the Mobility Factory. So they co-developed the app, for example, to share cars. Some of our members focus on financing, and the most recent activities is cooperatives focusing on citizen-led home renovation, like Carbon Coop in the UK, for instance. When you look at the map, not all of them are on the map, fortunately, because otherwise you wouldn't see anything. But you might notice that that it's mainly a thing of Northwestern Europe when you look at the figures, rather than Southern Europe. And in Eastern Europe, the former communist countries in the Balkan, let's say that our movement is just picking up. So what do we do as a European Federation? As I said, we represent the voice of citizens and citizen energy cooperatives to the European policymakers. It's very important that you are present when the European Commission is thinking about changing the directives, because when you react when these directives are put in place and become effective in your member state, in your country, then it's too late to react. You might change small things, but it's better to be present when the first ideas are put on paper. So we also support the startup of new REScoops. We provide them with trainings, useful tools, and contacts. We focus mainly on Eastern Europe and the Balkans because of obvious reasons, actually. And we provide services to the members, and we facilitate international exchanges and cooperation between energy cooperatives. And of course, we promote the REScoop business model throughout Europe. So what do we have in common? Well, actually, I would urge you, because the time here is limited, to read our charter. You can find it on our website. In this presentation, because this will be my last slide, I think, there's a lot more slides. I will also provide this presentation to the organizers. Probably they can provide it to all of you. So you can see in our charter what kind of organizations we federate, we bring together. And you will also notice that we want to bring not only the energy sector or the energy production, the consumption within the boundaries of Mother Earth, but actually we want to create, or we want to help create, a new economy based on or within the boundaries of Earth. This is also called the donut economy theory. developed in Oxford by Professor Kate Rayworth. So that's something which is very close at what we are and what we think. And I will stop here and leave the floor to my dear colleagues. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dirk, for your interesting introduction and presentation. I think we can move directly to Sara, so that she can introduce the situation in Italy. Please, Sara, the floor is yours.
And hi everybody, and thank you for the invitation. I will talk about the experience of Énostra, which is one of the cooperatives in Europe, and about the role of energy citizen and energy community. Énostra was born in 2014, and the aim of Énostra is to promote a transition model, a bottom-up transition model involving energy citizen. So it means municipalities, it means families, enterprises, local enterprises. And we do a lot of activities. We started as a supplier, so we sell just renewable energy, 100% of renewable energy, but we say even ethical and sustainable energy, because we a part of the energy is bought from the market, and a part is bought directly from the producer, and the part is produced by ourselves. So we started as a supplier, but then we became a producer, and we do even efficiency services to our members, families, and enterprises. We do a lot of information and events and education training, and we support local energy community to settle and to run. And some figures of our history. We started, as I said, from 2014, and now we have about nearly 12,000 of members. We are mainly on the north of Italy, because we are settled in Milan, so we are more present in the north. We sell, as I said, energy, and the increase of the energy is as you can see from the graph. And this energy, as I said, is partly bought from the market, partly from the selected plants, as I said, and partly is from our plants. Our plants means plants that we build thanks to the participation of the members that invest their money to build the plants. And you can see where they are and which sort of plants. We have photovoltaics and two wind plant. And in these days, in this very moment, the trucks are taking the part of a new turbine to the site, still in Gubbio, in the middle of Italy. So in 1 month time, we should have this new plant producing energy for our members. And we, as I said, we do even services of efficiency or production for our members. And so I put some numbers about the number of intervention and the type of intervention. So we just, more of them are photovoltaic plant, some are heating pump or PV storage, or even some wall box. And you can see how it has increased in the time. And this is more emotional, because this is a picture from the party that we had in October 2021 to celebrate the connection of our wind plant. And it has been participated in a very great moment to share with our members, which are proud to be part of this opportunity. And when members invest their money, they invest an amount of money related to the amount of energy that they consume. And so In this way, they have access to the prosumer tariff, we call it, which is a tariff fixed for 12 months, and we can update the tariff. The goal is to sell energy at a production cost, so we can update it even just only if the prices of the production has changed in the time. And with this opportunity, even as Dirk was saying before, the members that has chosen to take part of this opportunity has saved last year about a typical family of 4 people has saved about 500 euros in the year. So it has been an opportunity. But the promise is not the cheapest price, but just a price that is not connected to the price of gas and of fossil fuel. That is the promise. What about the energy community? As you can see, this slide is the timeline of the regulatory process in Europe and then in Italy. As you can see, it has a lot of milestones of this process, and it has not finished yet. The directive in Europe has been published on December 2018, and then it took some time to have a full transposition, because it happened just into December 2021. In the meantime, in Italy, it has been put into force partial transposition of the article of the directive that were introducing the energy community model and the self-consumption model, collective self-consumption model. So we had a period of experimental phase, which is not finished yet, because as I said, the process has not ended. So we are still, let's say, in the experimental phase. What are the main issues of this phase? The rule has been completed only into December 2020, so that was the beginning. But in these 2 years, 2 years and a half, let's say, just a few projects has come, diciamo, to the end, unfortunately. Because there were some bureaucratical issues and some difficulties for different aspects. But anyway, the article that started to the opportunity to build the project says that the juridical subject need to be based on open and voluntary participation, and need to be controlled by the members or shareholders in the proximity of the power plants. It says that can take part of this juridical subject a physical person, small and medium enterprises, and local authorities. And the last point says that the main objective of this model is to deliver environmental, economic, and social benefit to the community and to the territory where they are based, and rather than profit. So it's important not for profit experiences. And this slide shows the project that we are doing in supporting in Italy. We follow 5 phases of work, from the feasibility study to the engagement campaign, then the legal support to settle the community, the installation of the plants, and then the registration of the community on the platform. And there are lots of projects that are promoted by local authorities, the blue dots that you can see, and some other are from private, either trade association or companies or the other situation. A slide just to say what we think it's important for the energy community, obviously to reduce energy bills and to help to mitigate fuel poverty, to help to increase the awareness of members on energy use, to promote the rational use. It's important to activate collective action and interaction among the members, and to build a replicable format, and try to make the energy transition more affordable and accessible with this model, and to build mutual benefits and relationship between the stakeholder. And at the end, we can say that this sort of project fits properly in the Covenant of Major Sustainable Energy Action Plans. Just one example, I chose one. It's in Sardinia. It's the first one, one of the first ones that we built. It includes 62 members. Some of them are companies. The plant is about 50 kilowatts, and the major, from the day that he has celebrated the born of this community, said that that association, that NGO, would have been recognized as a subject to involve in the local energy policies. That's, I think, very important as a role of this new body. And last slide, what is needed to improve and spread effective RECs, renewable energy community. Obviously, inspiring stories. As I said, just a few were born in these 2 years. So that's a pity, because everybody could take example and be inspired from the experiences. So it's important to share stories. It's important to get to the end of this process, and so have a definite law and rules, and to promote community with less time-consuming procedures, because we are facing procedures that are unreasonably complicated and long. Easier access to the consumption data, because it's in Italy, the important thing is to share energy when the plants are producing, so you need to have detailed data. To have the opportunity to have the info point desks at local and regional level to share and to spread best practices and legal aspects. It's important to protect the right of the members to avoid speculative initiatives, because in some cases the operators intend the communities as an opportunity to build new plants, but taking too much of the benefits for themselves instead of assuring the benefits to the members. So that's important. And then maybe it's needed a more accurate job on the role of energy community in order to tackle fuel poverty. This is an important topic to work on. I thank you all, and this is a picture of our amazing team. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sara Capuzzo. Very inspiring stories to hear from south of Europe. And I would like also to mention and reinforce that you can, to the audience, you can ask your questions. Please use the chat function, and we will have some time at the end to answer questions from the audience. So after hearing from the south of Europe, thanks a lot, Sara, for sharing your insights. We will move now to the north of Europe, and I would like to invite Erik Christiansen to take the floor. Erik, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to shortly introduce the company where I'm coming from. It's called EBO Consult, and we operate and develop and expand district heating cooperatives. And we are also developing and operating energy communities. And what we are dealing with is renewable as a core business of our operations. This is our logo. It symbolizes the greenhouse. Not a greenhouse, but a building which is providing very good things for the surroundings. And the arrows symbolize energy as EBO, E in EBO, B for buildings, and organization, which is dealing with the organization of renewable energy projects. This is our logo for district heating cooperatives, showing that we provide hot water by having cold water, and we are all together by financing district heating and have the benefits from a local communal system. And in every project we are dealing with, we have the basis of sustainable development goals made by the UN. I will talk about a best practice at the moment in our area. It's called the Avila Green City project, and it's all about citizens empowering local energy transitions. This is a place 10 kilometers away from the city center of Copenhagen, and it's a suburban area of Copenhagen, so it's near the capital of Denmark. The district heating cooperative is the key actor for implementing the UN Sustainable Development Goals in the area, and the district heating cooperative is owned by all consumers. We have 4,000 consumers at the moment. It's a platform for local energy ideas, and all the directors of the board, they are consumers and having wonderful ideas of how to develop this area in a sustainable way. It's a non-profit district heating utility, as all district heating utilities are in Denmark. We wanted to do something else just beside making district heating. So in 2009, we had the first innovative project for the district heating cooperative. It's called the Solar House, and it's from 2009. And at that time, the solar house was mentioned as the big house, and it was placed in a ghetto area with social challenges. And the UN Summit 15 was arranged in Copenhagen in 2009, and we wanted to use the summit as a driver for doing something else with this building. It's a building, it's actually one of the biggest buildings in Denmark with dwellings. It has 454 dwellings, and we wanted to show that ghetto areas can develop sustainable renewable energy projects. And we had focus on the cooperation between the district heating cooperative and the tenants in the building. We called the project From the Big House to the Solar House, and we got the idea to have solar energy as a CHP combined heat and power system in the area, and to create the first solar combined heat and power multi-story building in Denmark. And actually, it was something which was mentioned in several newspapers at that time. We have PV panels on the south facade of the building and solar thermal installation on the roof. And the thermal installation on the roof is providing district heating or heat for the district heating cooperative and for the building. The tenants paid for the PV panels, and the district heating cooperative paid for the solar thermal installation, and we made the projects without any complaints from the tenants, and we had a very good support from the local municipality. And it created a totally new image for the area, which was known as the ghetto area. Suddenly, people realized that they could do something else in this area. This is from a photo from 2009. The chairman of the district heating cooperative is making a presentation of the project in front of visitors from the UN Summit in Copenhagen. And in 2010, we were nominated as one of the best sustainable projects in Europe, the solar CHP multi-story building in Brussels. It happened. The next thing we wanted to do, and now we are in 2019, was to continue the energy transition for an area, and this time for a bigger area with 7,500 inhabitants. And the stakeholders in this areas are the local village. It's a small village with 270 houses. It's an area with private cooperative housing. It's the social housing area, the former ghetto area, with a lot of facilities, sports centers, church, libraries, schools, and so on. And it's the local gymnasium, and we are actually having our office on the top of this gymnasium. And we wanted to have the teachers as very important players in the energy transition. There's a local handcrafts area, and with a famous film producer called Trupti, which is living there. and a virgin land, which is going to be 660 houses within a couple of years, and they will be part of the energy transition for the area. And finally, a vineyard, which is very important. When you have meetings, you need wine and something to drink during the meeting. We invited all the stakeholders to a meeting, and it was the first time they met each other, and they have heard a lot about each other, so they were a little worried what would happen during the meeting. But the result of the meeting was that they formed a steering group to make a kind of a transition for this area. And the transition was actually based in the work made by the steering group, and they made a vision for the area and shared the vision to all the stakeholders, and the stakeholders accepted the vision and the objectives and baselines for the project. The project is based on the UN goals 3 to 13, 15, and 17, and we have made manuals for each goal with actions and initiatives. It's developed, as I said, by the steering group, and it's communicated to the local area, and everybody knows what it's all about. We wanted to define an overall development plan, and the first step we did was to have a strategic energy plan. And we had some questions before we started. What is sustainable energy in our area? Which technologies do we need? Which data do we possess? Do we have consumption data and so on? Do we need changes in infrastructure? How can buildings and land improve our plan? How can we influence the energy infrastructure? Can we obtain energy savings? And how is the investment plan schedule? And as you can see, we have I have an EU logo on top of the screen. It's because we got a grant from the European Investment Bank, and it helped us to plan all of this dealing with energy tasks for the project. We formed an energy community, and it's the first citizen energy community in Denmark, and it's founded as a cooperative. And why didn't we use the district heating cooperative as the basic cooperative for this project? And it's due to Danish legislation. When you have a district heating cooperative, you are not allowed to do anything else but producing and distributing heat. So we needed to found a new cooperative, and this cooperative is actually the first in Denmark based on the Renewable Energy Directive from the EU. We have, as I said, 7,500 stakeholders, and we are actually installing electricity for the future by using renewables. And we wanted to have power and heat as the key tasks for this citizen energy community, and have a balance between demand and supply. And a local balance between these two is very important to obtain the best solution for energy supply. Consult is the administrator, and in some respect a catalyst for many of the tasks done by the citizen energy community. This is a photo from the founders meeting, and I'm the photographer, so we have a balance between the genders too, 4 female and 4 male, and this is important for us to have a balance in that respect too. The first energy steps we did was in the period 2021 to 2023, and when it's about district heating, we made some changes in the energy supply chain and made some changes in the pipes and reduced the flow temperature from 90 degrees to 65 degrees, and it has resulted in a lot of energy savings. And we are now installing a communal heat pump and using excess heat from a data center. And we calculate that all these measures will have a reduced heat bills within 10 to 20%. And actually, we are having other energy saving measures as heat meters, some totally new heat meters, which can control humidity in dwellings too. And we have a free technical service for homeowners where we visited homeowners and make an energy analysis of the house. And we want to have the homeowners to save energy, and we make an energy report with information about energy saving measures. So we are doing a lot for tenants and homeowners in the area. Since the 1st of January, we have installed a lot of PVs, 254 kilowatt peak. You can see the production and the CO2 reduction, and it's all paid by the members of the community. Since we had a big tender, we had very cheap PVs and installation expenses, and it's all operated by the energy community. In spring and summer this year, we will have more PV installations, and the municipality has decided to finance a very big amount of PVs in the area. This is our first charging stations with PVs, and it's for 4 chargers, and we are actually developing this for 8 chargers in an area in this Everø Green City. This is a battery which is going to be installed this month, and we will use the battery to have surplus from the PVs in this battery and to balance supply and demand for electricity in the area. And the next steps for the coming years will be to have the village, as I mentioned, with 270 houses. We will have an energy self-sufficient village with a local heat pump and providing electricity from a giant PV installation in the area. So we are also expanding sustainable district heating, and in some of the housing areas, we will have a renovation of facades and roofs and install PVs and PVT. The most important lessons learned is that it's all about people, and you have to take care of people when you have process like this, because it's not understandable all you do and all you have as a vision, and you have to have a thorough planning and have a very good relationship with the public authorities. Mainly in Denmark, it's the municipality. You have to be aware that citizens are decision makers, and technology and energy saving measures must adapt to local conditions. You have to be very thorough you have to be very careful when you make research about technology and energy savings in an area you want to develop. Keep it simple and trustworthy. That's the main words. Legal framework is important. Follow the legal instructions from the state and the municipality. Good business cases and financing tools are crucial. And finally, communication. I mean physical communication by having meetings and so on, sessions where you have exhibitions and so on. Information and transparency are very important words. That's my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Erik. Was very inspiring also to hear from you, from the experience from Denmark, and how relevant to have a proper legal context is in order to develop these type of activities. But these type of activities, communities and cooperatives are not only happening in Europe, fortunately. So we now have an example to provide from Brazil. And for that, I would like to invite Eduardo from Revolusolar to explain what they have been doing and the main achievements in Brazil. Please, Eduardo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gabriela, and thank you everyone for the invitation. I would like to salute Dirk, which is a partner of Revolusolar. He was present in the foundation of Revolusolar 7 years ago. Sara, Anna, and Erik. Very nice to learn from these international experiences, and I'd like to begin saying sorry because some slides are in Portuguese, but this is a good opportunity for you guys to learn some Portuguese. And today I'm going to talk about our projects of solar energy in low-income communities here in Rio, Brazil, but also now in the Amazon region. And I would like to remember that today in Brazil, it's the Day of Indigenous People. So it's very important for us to recognize this movement. And now we have a government that recognizes it. It's very important for us to remember that. And the perspective that I bring here is the social impacts transformation that solar energy and energy communities can bring for us. So Revolusolar is a non-profit organization that was founded inside a low-income community, a favela here in Rio. So we have seen the prices of energy getting more expensive in the last decade here in Rio. The energy prices rose more than 150% for the residents in Rio, more than doubled. And in the same time, the prices of solar energy have decreased 90% here. But one question that I bring for us to think about in the first place is this energy transition that we are talking here, these energy communities, who are the people that are being benefited from it? This energy transition is for who? 90% of Brazilian population doesn't have the capital to invest in solar equipments. They are part of what we call here classes C, D, and E in the socioeconomic diagnostics that we have here in Brazil. So only the 1% richer in Brazil are benefiting from the solar revolution, from these lower prices of solar equipments. So in order for us to think about energy transition that is really for all, that we have really disseminated energy communities, we have to think about models, not just one model, but several models that are adapted for this majority of the population. And this is what Revolusolar is doing for the last 7 years. Okay, so we have begun in one specific favela, but now we are replicating this experience in Brazil together and collaborating with the Brazilian government to create a solar social program in Brazil that is adapted to urban low-income communities, but also rural communities, indigenous people in Amazon, in the Northeast. That Brazil is a very big country, so we have to have adapted actions for these people to solve this problem that we still have in Brazil, which is very difficult to solve, and it affects a lot of people. That is the energy poverty, and we see the energy poverty in two perspectives here in Brazil. One is the access to the grid, that we have advanced a lot in the last Lula governments in the beginning of the century. The program called Light for All, Luz para Todos, has brought access to more than 16 million people in Brazil, which is a reference. But we still have 1 million people without access to the grid in the Amazon region, and that is where solar energy, especially with batteries, are more important to bring access to these people. But we have another perspective as well in Brazil, which is the capacity to pay for the energy. Okay, so we have this recent research that shows that 46% of the Brazilians have to spend more than half of their family income to energy expenses. So they are in this field that we call in energy poverty. So we advocate here in Brazil for a fair energy transition that benefits really all the people. And with this perspective, I understand that new business models are very important. We, as an NGO, we are experimenting some social business models, but we understand that the role of the state, of the government, is very important invest in this. So with the recent change in our presidency in Brazil, we are seeing some very good opportunities to build that program, and we are advocating for this social solar energy program. From the beginning of the government, we sent some recommendations for them, and in the report of the transition of the government, they recognized that this would be a priority of the new government. This would be the #1 priority, and we are developing this with the government to build this program in a nationwide scale, okay? With this methodology that we call solar cycle, that we created in the favelas together with the residents of the favelas, that involves job training program to train solar installers in the community so they can do the installation and then maintenance, education and cultural activities to create local leaders and to promote engagement of the community. Now we have projects in different regions in Brazil, especially now we are focusing a lot on social housing programs as well, integrating this. And we have created here the first solar energy cooperative ever in a Brazilian favela, which is part of a new regulation that we have in Brazil that allows energy communities, shared generation, as we call here in Brazil. But one specific thing that we are fighting a lot here in Brazil and trying to convince the government is that we have to focus on distributed, decentralized, small-scale energy that is generated in the community, inside the territory. There is a perspective from big companies and government that we have to do big solar plants that are not inside the community, so this would be easier to scale and it would be cheaper and it would be easier to do maintenance. And we are trying to convince them that we can do maintenance with the solar panels inside the community, training the local residents so they can do the maintenance. And this brings, we are talking here about energy efficiency, right? So the closer the generation is with the consuming of energy, the more efficient it is. And it brings a lot of benefits as engagement, involvement, creation of local jobs. So this is the revolution, the solar revolution that we believe. The generation of energy in the community, it changes, it transforms the territory, the pride of they generating their own energy. But we understand that this has to be sustainable in an economic way as well. So we have this economic model, which is a social business model that we are experimenting, that the residents, that we do the training of the local people to do the maintenance in the cooperative. All this we have non-refundable funds that we put this model to work. And we install and do a technical assistance, and the residents, the cooperative members, they pay a monthly fee so the cooperative keep it running and pay the maintenance, and they have savings every month without investing any capital that they don't have. Okay, so we have a lot of partners here, including European Climate Foundation, that are helping us to promote the solar revolution, to give these suggestions for the government. We understand that the social participation is very important. Also, we're hearing social leaders, entrepreneurs. We did this workshop to hear the contributions of everybody. We did some researches, and we have these suggestions for the federal government of this fair energy transition with social participation, integrating public policies. I'm not getting into detail now, I can answer then, but focusing on this maintenance, okay? Including energy efficiency, hearing the opinion of the community, promoting the creation of local leaders, of education. The regulation has the energy distribution company has to be part of this program. I just came back of, I'm in Rio now, but I just came back of Brazil, of Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, to send this, to deliver these suggestions for the government. And we are the conversation is very good with them. And we just appeared in the media yesterday with these proposals that we are delivering to the government. And our next steps to end is that we are creating this network of social projects and movements of solar energy in Brazil. We are concluding this technical report to build this program with the government, and we are advocating some specific legislations in Brazil to build the solar revolution in a nationwide scale. And I invite you all to be part with us of this solar revolution, following us in the social media. These are the representation of the kids that they draw. They chose the name, which is Sun, Sol, and Super Raio. So yeah, thank you for the space, and I invite you to be part of the solar revolution with us.
Thank you very much, Eduardo. It was very nice to hear even the participation of children, and all the best to the heroes that they have chosen to represent these initiatives. So now we are moving into our last presentation. One of the co-organizers of, the co-organizer of this webinar, and after that we will enter into a round of questions and answers for the speakers. And with that, I would like to invite Anna to take the floor and introduce Coopérnico and their activities. And once again, thanks a lot for driving with us in this adventure of organizing this webinar.
Thank you for your words, Gabriela. It was a pleasure to organize with you this seminar and this event. Coopérnico is the first renewable energy cooperative in Portugal, and the only one until now in this model. We are a member of the REScoop Federation, and what we want in Portugal is to develop an energy model based on renewables, based on transparency, and based on fair prices, or fair energy prices for every citizens and companies. We are the only, so this is our goal. Our commitment is to, of course, only to produce green energy. We create also social value in the way that we always try to collaborate with the communities when we have new power plants and new projects of renewables. In the same way, we support developing local economy, since we always try to choose installers from the region to install and operate our power plants. And of course, as all cooperatives, we want integrity and transparency. We are the most transparent supply or company supplying in Portugal. So what we do, we have three main areas. We produce energy, renewable energy, until now only with the PV technology. We are the first. We are also the first cooperative to supply energy in Portugal, and we have several projects about energy efficiency. And this is the way that we support our members to help them and to support them to support them to their own energy transition. So in the production, our models start to be based on feed-in tariff in Portugal until
2019, there was a feed-in tariff model for small productions. And now our model of production is for self-consumption with PPA. So what this means is that we finance all the installations, and we are selling to the charity institution or to the kindergarten, to the building that is consuming, and with that money that they are paying to us, we pay to our members the investment that they made to support these projects. So, in supply sector, as I mentioned, Coopérnico is the first cooperative. It's the only cooperative selling energy in the liberalized market in Portugal. So this is really important for us. We are trying to survive in this very big energy sector with lots of big companies and private companies. And our main goal is to have a transparent and fair price for our members that are citizens and private companies. And we are trying to have more production than energy consumption from our members, but this is a problem in Portugal since we have lots of barriers to produce our own energy to sell to our clients. So about services and projects, we collaborate with ID Energy that Dirk talked in the beginning. We have several services that we try to develop. We are always trying to develop new services to present to our members, or about energy efficiency, or about electric mobility, to help them to save energy and to start to work more and to consuming more and more renewable energy. We are also supporting communities to start their own local energy community, but we are still facing lots of problems and barriers in this stage in Portugal. So Coopérnico was recognized in these 9 years of our common life. We've been recognized about our work, not only in Portugal but in Brussels, and yeah, Coopérnico today has more than 3,000 members and 2 million euros invested from our members in new renewable power plants, and we are supplying almost 2,000 clients. So this is my very small presentation. I'm looking for your questions, and all information that you need, you can then contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and nice to hear also from my home country what's happening there. Yeah, it was well, first I would like to thank all the speakers to be so attentive to the timing. So we are right on time, and we have still a bit of space for some questions and answers. But just summing up what we heard from our speakers, we heard that energy prices are a critical issue within this space, but we have energy cooperatives and energy communities helping out to address the energy transition through renewables and energy efficiency. We also heard about the importance to have stories that can be replicated and upscaled, and the importance also to share, to be able to share all these successful stories that we heard from the different places around the world that we heard today. So it's critically important to communicate and explain exactly how this works, and that's also what we are trying to do here today, to give some practical examples and experiences and share some experiences of what's going on not only in Europe, but we were lucky enough also to have a representative from Brazil. We also heard that this is really critical also on these multiple benefits of including renewable energies and energy efficiency in the energy transition in terms of creating jobs, helping to train people and put them on the market, especially for installation and maintenance of equipment and installations. How these can be so inclusive, an inclusive activity with the local communities that are actually benefiting from using this kind of formula to make the energy transition. And last but not least, and probably one of the most critical elements or ingredients for this to work is about regulation. Although in Europe we have a global context that allows this type of activities to be generated and to exist and to operate, we actually see that there are still many barriers even inside European countries where it's still not totally solved, this regulatory and legislative context. And then of course finance. Although this is a very interesting business model where actually local communities can participate on the size of their capacities, but also this is something to be addressed. And this and much more we heard about today. Fortunately, we also got quite a bit of questions for our speakers. And if I know that Dirk was having some time issues, if he's still there available, I would like to call you to the center stage. No, he's not there anymore. So Trupti is making signals that he is left. We heard that he had some timing issues, but yeah. Anyway, the question addressed to him was about the initial federation or aggregation of members and what were the factors that accelerated or made the traction of energy communities. So if any of the members of REScoop would like to address this, and if they have the history backgrounds that could also give some insights on how exactly the start of the federation happened, it would be good also to share with our audience. So, well, if you the speakers could have this in the back of your minds, but we have more questions, and probably I would start with Sara also, so one of the questions we got is that in case of interest in participating to a project already started in Italy, so imagining that this is still a possibility, so this would be probably the first part of the question, is it possible to join and participate on a project that is already ongoing, and how and who would this person address to take relevant contact for this to happen? Sara, can you please join this discussion and answer this question?
Yeah. The question is if somebody can join a project that is already going, you said. We have a fund of production which has an amount capacity, and we have closed a fund of 2.5 million, and now we have the assembly, and we are going to open a new fund. As soon as the fund is open, it is possible to participate, and then we collect members that support financially, and then when the plants are producing, then we invite them to activate the tariff so that they can have the fixed price connected to the plants. So it is possible, not in this very moment, if you want to participate to the production and to have the tariff, it is not possible, but it will in a month's time. And if you want just to be supplied, it is possible in every moment. And if somebody is interested, can go on the website www.Énostra without accent.et, and then they can find all the information. I hope
Okay.
I've answered.
Yeah, thanks, Sara. So in these conditions, contacts should be made through your website. So that's the main thing. And another question that was also addressed to you, if for example, on your website, they could also find examples of case studies that you are developing, or projects that you are developing or have already developed, where they can our audience can learn and have more details and insights into what's been done so far.
Yeah, in the website we have some stories, but it's not updated regularly. But if people is interested, for example, on the energy community, they can fill in a form. There are two forms. The one that is for the ones that are interested in the consultancy, and the one that is for the information. So we collect people interested, and then we call them, or we do a webinar dedicated to people just to share information and to share best practices or failure or whatever is useful for the ones that want to build a community.
All right, thank you. Well, I also owe the questions to most of the European speakers. If you have also any insights on how it was initiated, the European Association would be good if you could address that, if you feel comfortable to do that. Otherwise, Erik, we got several questions for you. They are mostly around the business model and how much does the government, in this case, I suppose, either the government of Denmark or a local government could influence and participate in the development of your projects. If they provide any incentives or any kind of participation, sorry, and if you could also elaborate a bit more on the business model that you have on these cases that you presented. So if you could address these questions would be good.
Yes. Yeah, I'll try to do that. But firstly, I would address this, how we actually established REScoop.eu. I was one of the former founders of REScoop.eu, not as director of EBA Consult, but as chairman of an offshore wind cooperative owned by 8,600 shareholders in Copenhagen. And we actually received a grant from the EU Commission telling us that, what we applied for was to have a kind of connection between all the cooperatives in Europe. So we actually formed a kind of consortium in this EU application, and we had addressed some issues about how do we establish energy cooperatives. Why do we need energy cooperatives in our countries? How is the experience with your energy cooperatives throughout Europe? And this was some of the issues we had in the application towards the EU Commission. And we received a very good grant just to make us all happy with the similarities and differences between different countries' energy cooperatives. And based on that, we decided in 2013 to found REScoop.eu. So originally it was only a few members, and then it expanded to more members, and now we are several hundred members and have a lot of employees in Brussels working to do it as good as they can to have the best legislations and support for energy cooperatives throughout Europe. So that's the story about REScoop, and I think it has been a very good success. I'm sitting in the board of REScoop, and I know that we are all happy what happened with REScoop during the years. It's only 10 years, and we've succeeded to have more than 2,000 energy cooperatives involved in our daily work. I think that's successful due to a very good staff in Brussels and a very efficient board, of course.
I'm sure. And Erik, just a curiosity out of my side, is it possible for interested future or existing cooperatives or communities to address REScoop in Europe to get some support or even for the establishment of one? Let's say I'm thinking about other initiatives from Brazil or even from countries like India. We could guide them towards that possibility. Is that an option?
Yeah, it is. We have developed, a catalog of toolboxes for energy cooperatives. So just visit our website, and you'll find a lot of toolboxes which are open for you. And of course, you benefit from for being a member. You have some values as a member of REScoop. That's how it is. You pay a member contingency, and that's why you get something else than others visiting the website. But visit the website, and you'll have a lot of tools to use when you want to establish a new energy cooperative, or if you want to learn more about how do other energy cooperatives do their daily work in Europe.
Okay, thank you. And can you briefly also touch upon the public intervention or public participation here in Denmark on in terms of governmental organizations or governmental institutions in the business model, and how it actually was laid out?
Yeah. Well, we don't get any kind of support any longer from the government. It has been like that for many years. Even the legal framework has, some barriers for energy cooperatives and energy communities. Being a lawyer, I know to find all the leakages in the legislation. So that's why we managed to make something else in Avila Green City, for example. But the state, they are not that much for energy cooperatives and energy communities at the moment. But we managed to convince the DSOs to have us as a very important actor for having local energy solutions. And DSOs, those owning the local nets, and they are also cooperatives in Denmark. So we convinced them to have us as a key player, and actually the board of these cooperatives, they say we need to follow up on the EU directives concerning energy communities and so on. So things are changing in a positive way, not by public authorities, but how we always do in Denmark, we make agreements locally. So you have politicians sitting on their chairs, and then we have all the others working day to day. So that's how it is, and we make local agreements and so on. That's why we can do all the funny things locally. And of course, we need to have a very good support from the municipalities. They are very important. And I have to say that 99% of all municipalities in Denmark, they are for local initiatives. They want to enhance local energy support for housing areas, for homeowners and so on. So in this situation with the Avila Green City, the municipality is a member of the local community. And it helps a lot if you have a member sitting there in the board from the municipality, a local politician in the board, and he can go to the civil servants and say, we need this and that, you know, you have to change some plans and so on. So it has been a very fine cooperation with the municipality, and it's needed locally to have this kind of cooperation.
Thank you. And Eduardo, I would like to turn to you now. What about in your case, in the case of favelas, did you have any public support in terms of local government or city government, and how could you also engage the people locally, especially from the favelas? How easy or difficult was it to engage them in such kind of an innovative approach?
Yeah, so this is a challenge that we have to face because we're talking about a new technology, about a place that is not used, about being pioneers in these new technologies. So they have it's common to think that solar energy is just for rich people in Rio, in Brazil. So they have, we have to build this trust, and we have to do small pilots to materialize, to show that it's viable, that it's possible. And so one important aspect of creating this engagement is the educational part. So we create jobs, we form solar installers, as we were talking, Gabriela, we involve the children, they learn about solar energy and energy transition. So this engagement is a fundamental aspect of the project. Without this, it's not possible to bring this, and without public support is also not possible to make this solution viable. And I'm not just talking about investment. We have not received any investment until now of the state, but we are the city hall of Rio. They have a lot of buildings inside the favela, which are schools, the sports, the big court, the resident association. So the most important relation that we have now with the city hall, especially, are the authorizations to use the rooftops of the buildings, which is a process that takes a long time, and now we are beginning to build this relation of integrating solar energy with the social housing program that the city hall also operates. But talking about federal government, we understand that investment is also very important to scale this solution in a nationwide scale. So yeah, the engagement and the relation with public support are very important, and we are learning how to do that. These are the first steps.
Thank you. And what about the ownership of these solar systems? How are they composed of, or how are they organized? Are they actually belonging to one of each members of the community, or how does it go over there?
We understand that the important thing is not the ownership of the equipments. This is one thing that is target of some critics in social housing program also in Brazil. The important thing is not the ownership of the asset, it's the access to the service that the asset provides. So we understand the same thing in solar energy. The important thing is not the ownership of the solar panels, of the equipment, and it is the access to lower prices of energy, to high quality energy supply. So the ownership is not of the community, the beneficiaries is, we are experimenting models. So it is in the pilot projects of Revolusolar, but we are suggesting the government and the utilities that they can have the ownership. This will mitigate some risks as well. And the important thing is to give the low prices, high quality, high involvement energy supply to the community, and with flexible prices. So yeah, the ownership is not of the community.
Okay, thank you, Eduardo. Now, and I would like to, we are 2 or 3 minutes away from our time, and I would like to ask Anna also a few questions, and those relate to what have been the promotion activities to raise your customer base, and how did you address it, and how successful you have been on these promotion activities, and how do you expect them to develop in the future?
So Coopérnico, I think, as almost cooperatives, we don't pay advertisement, so it's a mouth-to-mouth thing, and it's how we grow. It's organic growing, if you want, but it's a very support way to grow. So who is coming to Coopérnico? They know what is a cooperative, and they know, and they have, and they trust us, and they share the same goals, as the same goals about being in a cooperative. So, but there is a very important thing in Portugal that attracts people to Coopérnico. I have to be honest, it's the low price of energy in the south of Europe. So it's not like in France that citizens are willing to pay more just not to have nuclear in their energy bill. It's not like that in Portugal. We are a poor country, and the citizens are always looking for the cheaper supplier of energy. So when we can have low price of electricity, we win lots of contracts and lots of new members. And when we have to increase our energy tariff, we lose contracts. But normally we don't lose members. So that's how we manage and how we are growing in supplier sector. Even though we are several people, and our members and our clients, when they have to leave, they always say that we are the most transparent supplier in the market. And but when they have to leave, they say, well, it's a pity, but I cannot afford it. Now we are winning lots of new clients because the energy is cheaper on the market, as Sara also mentioned. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you. So, well, just to conclude, in one word from each of you, I would like to ask you, what was the main barrier that, or how do you rate them as top number one barrier if that you had to face in your activities, and if this is a biased question, because we are also on our side trying to learn how we can help best also to deploy this type of business models and solutions in other countries. And if you would be my counseling board for our work here from the UN, what would be your top number one suggestion of barrier that needs to be addressed as soon as possible, so that more of these type of models can be replicated and upscaled, both in Europe, but especially outside the developed country borders. So I'll start with Eduardo. He's eager to be the first, so the floor is yours, and then we do a quick round and close this session. Thank you. Eduardo.
One word: funding. Of course, we need a mix of non-refundable funds to experiment and to create these new models. We're talking about a new technology, a new business model, a new institutional model. So we need non-refundable funds in the short term to experiment and to create these funds. And we can have like subsidized loans because several experiences here have proven that is a sustainable business model. But we need funding, especially the global south countries, like in developing countries in Brazil, and especially low-income communities in these countries.
Thank you, Eduardo. Note taken. Sara, do you want to go next?
I would say simplification, because some projects has some difficulty to start and to grow or to develop because of the bureaucracy, and it's a silly thing to say, but who writes the law should know what he or she is talking about. And it's not always like that, because sometimes when you write the law, as Dirk was saying at the beginning, if you're not there when it's the right moment to put the amendment on the table and to explain how the energy market, which is very complicated, is working, if you don't say in that moment, it maybe some law could be useless, because maybe the community cannot be settled because there is something wrong in the law. So simplification and study of the market before writing laws and directive or decrees. And one of the issues that we faced at the beginning, or we are facing, is that the model is innovative, so people need time to understand it and to trust that you are doing a good job, and that the promise that you do, you will be able to maintain.
Good points. Thank you, Sara. Erik, do you have some insights and some top barriers?
Yep. Well, I have to say that energy is very difficult to handle. You know, we have so many aspects about energy. You know, locally, on governmental, national level, international, and everywhere. And if you talk about one kind of energy, well, you need to connect to another kind of energy to understand the previous energy. So it's a mix of a lot of things, and to make it understandable for everybody what is going on is one of the big barriers. We need, I think, a legal framework, you know, emphasizing the fact that we want to enhance local energy communities. And we need, on the other hand, some tariff models from some of the DSOs which are transparent, because they aren't. So this kind of legal framework is the main barrier at the moment in Denmark, actually.
Thank you. And last but not least, then, what are your views of top barriers?
I think first of all, we need to identify our leader in the leaders of the community. That leader, that community, that people, that citizens will have this, will have the strongness, or will have the strong enough to face the barriers and all the problems that every day, even in Europe, energy communities are facing to develop their own business model based on people and not on money. So strong leaders and strong citizens, it's what we need around the world to develop this new business model around energy. Yeah.
So the superheroes we need, like Eduardo was sharing from Brazil. Okay, thanks a lot. And with that, we close this webinar. And you please keep track of our website. This webinar will be posted there. And if you want to come back or share with other family and friends, please do so, and we see you next time. And thanks a lot to our panelists, and special thanks to Coopérnico for the help in organizing this event. And with that, we close this webinar. Thank you.